speed. I'm gonna go clap, bring this bad boy back up here like this, and then I'm just gonna say things. Tilt it down like that.
Yeah.
So Humpty Dumpty fell off a wall. Humpty Dumpty had a great fall. Humpty Dumpty hung out with his next door neighbor when they put them back together again.
That's great.
Right? That's the story.
Namaste. Namaste in my closet, yo. What's up? Welcome back to another episode of Bad Flashes. Don't know why I'm doing this a lot, but it's happening, so you're gonna have to be okay with it. How you guys doing? It's been like a hot second or two since we talked, and, you know, we can't go outside to meet each other. How's your couch? Do you have a permanent ass mark where you sit and just watch TV all day? Is it filled with popcorn? The popcorn that falls out of your mouth because you never get popcorn in quite right? It's just always just like, ha! Do you have that crease? We don't have to go there. Not today. Today's about learning. Every day is about learning. Today we're going to be talking about testing. A lot of people are talking about testing nowadays. You know, testing blood cells, testing for coronavirus, online testing. But I'm going to be talking about film exposure testing. That's just something that people don't always talk about. The wonderful, beautiful, scientific method of watching, you know, just nothing happen. It's really kind of a boring process sometimes. As some of you may know, or may not know, depending, I don't know, this could be your first video. Welcome, Bad Flashes, where you'll probably have a stroke watching me. Anyway, as you may know, I roll my own film using this Watson model. My friend Greg let me borrow this for a while, and I was able to procure some 35 motion picture film. Now, this is Fuji Eterna 400 tungsten balanced, and I have some Reala Real A 500D for daylight. These guys, or girls, have not been in production for 10 years. And, you know, this is technically expired. I wanted to see what the latitude is of this film. Sure, as I've explained before in a previous episode, give it one more stop of light for every decade. I could just load this up and shoot it, or I could do an exposure test. Wouldn't that be fun? We haven't done one of those before. Now in testing, you want to make sure that you record all of the information so you can go back to your notes at the end of the day and see what your settings were and what the best outcome is in the long run. So I use this photo memo book. I just, you know, put all the stuff and the things in here and I filled it out. One thing that I wanted to do with all the testing is make sure that I had enough colors and patterns and all this fun stuff in the frame so that I can see what it looks like. And that's what this color chart is for. Can't forget the exposure chart. The color chart also is there so that you can see your gray values, your black values, your red values. So I set up a light and I put all this stuff in frame, made sure I had a tripod, made sure I write down all the information, pertinent information. So what information do you write down in your handy dandy notebook? The film type and the film ISO. So I take my reading on what my base settings will be. So that's an f4 at 500 ISO and the shutter speed is 1/125. And then I'm gonna change my shutter speeds and write my shutter speeds down for every frame. So frame 1, I shot at box speed. Frame 2, I shot at 1/160. And then this will let me correspond to all my information when I get my scans, negatives, all that fun mumbo jumbo back. So I wanted to test 3 to 4 stops over and 3 stops under. So after done setting up, I just fired away. So when you're shooting the frame, you want to make sure you have a slate or a piece of paper letting you know what that current setting is. If you don't, you may, at the end of the day, when you get your scans back, not know which exposure belonged to which. You want to make sure you have the name, the speed of the film, and the f-stop that you're using. Then you put your shutter speed. So what I ended up doing was putting a piece of paper with the shutter speed and the corresponding stop that it was referring to. So in this case, my base shutter speed was 1/125. So that was box. So if I went over or under, I would have a -1 or a +1. And there you go. Just slip that in before you take the frame. Then you know I'm looking at box speed right now because it says 1/125. And guess what? What does the note say? It says box speed is 1/125, the box. This is easy stuff. This is like cherry pie on a Sunday night. I mean, I like pumpkin pie better, but you know, cherry's the first thing that came to my head. I don't know what. let's go through a few of these mofos. So it looks kind of nice. You got the color chart. You got a camera in there for no apparent reason. You got a green head. What's a green head doing in there? And it's for visual effects stuff. And the 16 cartridge because we got film. It's film. It's film. It's film. I have nothing better to do with my life than this. Is that sad? Right here, you'll notice I have the name of the film, the f-stop, and at what speed I was shooting at. 1/125. What did we discuss? That was box. Let's go on. Okay, so now we're at 1 stop under. Okay, that's not actually that terrible. The highlights are fairly retained, and the blacks they're dark. They're black, but whatever. You know, this is going to be a very specific looking film. It kind of gives a really good vintage retro look. If you want portrait, shoot portrait. If you want something completely different, then let's check out this stuff. 2 stops. Okay. The blacks are starting to get all mucked up and whatnot, and I wouldn't use this. And then 3 stops, don't look at the Newton rings. They were particularly bad on this batch. Yeah, 3 stops, I would say totes, defs, unused, able. And 4 stops, I was able to go 4 stops, and that's just dog shit on a bucket. Okay, where are we at? We're back at 1/125. So you'll see, oh, okay, my 6th shot, I went back. I went back just for safety, just to make sure. Okay, we're at 1 stop over. So this is interesting, right? You would say, Caleb, well, what about the 1 stop every decade rule? Yeah, exactly. That's why you do tests like this, to figure that out. Then I would have just shot a bunch of overexposed shots and then get it back and be like, bummed out. Have you seen The Beach Bum with Matthew McConaughey? You would be like that, except for less boats and water. 2 stops, totally unused. I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't go 2 stops. 3 stops, boom. You can't, no way. You got great shadow detail. That's hot. That's sexy, right? Look at all that shadow detail, but no. +4. That can't happen. +4's like, nah, way, brah. You know, from this particular test, I'm learning that exposing at box speed, in this case, I would say is the best scenario. 1 stop over. So let's see, like, can we resolve, it's not terrible. 1 stop over, not terrible, but it's also not probably preferable. But it has some range there. Shadows are kind of blocky, little chewed up like beef jerky. But this is kind of what this testing is for. You get to see where the film is the best in the highlights and the shadows. So I shot a few shots on this roll to round it out at box speed. And you kind of are noticing a few things here. Have a little bit of room in the highlights. If I want to bring the shadows up, it's not really. I can't really recover those shadows as much as I want to. But you do have the capacity for a decent image. Yeah, sure, it's a little stylized and looks expired, because it is. So, do you want an expired look? Maybe. This one, I should have maybe exposed for the shadows a little bit on this one. I kind of actually like how dark this shot is, personally. All these shots were metered center weight, and I probably could have exposed a little bit there, but you know what? In this case, I could probably bring up the shadows ever so slightly if I wanted to. If you royally mess up, then good luck. Like I said, if you want portrait, shoot portrait. That was Eterna. Eterna? Why can't I ever remember? I don't know. Why can't I spell? So overall, the Reala 500D was about the same finding. I did the exact same thing for this. I'm kind of finding the same color tones as the 400. You can really go 1 stop over. You don't want to go more than that. And under, under is really not the best either. It goes into noisy town real fast. So there we go. So wait, hold on, Caleb. Well, now what? What have we learned? Shadows, they fall fast. Highlights get cooked real fast as well. Do we want to expose 1 stop over? If we want to save for the shadows, yeah, probably. But the highlights, no. You don't have a lot of latitude. With all that information, what are we gonna do now? Gonna load up another roll, go shoot some film. So I ended up loading up this 500 with 37 shots, because I can do that. It's a great thing about rolling your own film. If you want to do a short end test, like all of these, I only rolled 16 frames. You don't have to go through a whole 36 frames or 24 frames. And so with the information that we gathered from our exposure test, I ended up going out and shooting on the town. I decided to shoot box speed. Putting my mask on and make sure to wear it over my nosies. An exposure test is a great way to know what the film's capabilities are. You can wing it, which is completely fine. It may take more testing, but this is a good way to know. So after knowing all this information, we know the highlights go fast and the shadows go fast as well. When we're out there taking photos, we might want to use a spot meter to make sure, in this photo, do I want the highlights to be retained or do I want the shadows to be retained? And you wouldn't have known that if you didn't do this sweet test. Fire off 16 shots of boring bliss. It's alliteration for you. Now, all this could be thrown out the window if I decide to do another exposure test and use ENC2 chemicals. That's another video for another day, or a follow-up. Overall, I learned a lot from this exposure test. Do I necessarily have to go a full stop over? No. Can I go a full stop under? Maybe. Box speed is pretty dead on. Also taught me, look at the composition and see what the main focus is. All that's really good information that I wouldn't have known if I didn't do this test. But honestly, I encourage you to do this too. It gives you more information about the film types that you're shooting. It's a good thing knowing your film, back and forth, just like a reliable best friend. And we all want to be enlightened in 2020, right? We can make more well-informed choices about everything. The film stock we want, the camera speeds we want to shoot at, what are we having for dinner? Everything's possible. So my original intent for having all this film was to test it, but then also, it might be interesting to put it out there on the market. So let me know if you're interested in, expired film. You see the results. Do you want to help support and feed me and my children? I don't have children. So overall, I hope you learned a thing or two. There it is, the episode. Testing film, testing, testing, testing. 1, 2, 3. Can you hear me? Well, join me next time where we'll discuss if friendship bracelets are still a thing in 2020. Who knows? Bye! So I should probably just wrap this episode up, take this shirt off, and go from there. Thanks, bye.